the Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Consider myself a conspiracy buff at all, but when they get a lot of coincidences, I get a little suspicious and call me crazy.
Polls, weird talk shows, crazy groups every Sunday telling you what you think.
The Republicans and the Democrats conspire with one another, which they do.
There is a conspiracy by big business against American democracy.
We know that there was a conspiracy.
There was a conspiracy.
There was no conspiracy.
Was there a conspiracy?
It's a communist conspiracy directed out of Moscow.
The right-wing conspiracy.
Communist conspiracy is a deliberate and predictable plan of action to subvert the world.
Right-wing
It's
conspiracy.
an international criminal conspiracy.
Vast right-wing conspiracy.
Great conspiracy.
And all these conspiracy theories.
Was there a conspiracy? I don't know.
Perhaps themselves even involved in the conspiracy.
There was a conspiracy.
No evidence
of a conspiracy.
Anybody would have to be a fool nowadays to dismiss conspiracies.
Conspiracy
theory. Cockeyed conspiracy theory.
Conspiracy theory exists because there really is conspiracy.
But they never told a soul about it. In fact, they engaged in a vast conspiracy.
Since you get accused of being a conspiracy theorist, of being a
The
paranoid.
historical context of actual conspiracy.
A conspiracy of bad people.
As always happens at some point in a conspiracy. One night, Cousin Eddie got drunk in a honky-tonk and spilled the beans.
There was a conspiracy, and government was involved in it.
Conspiracy existing within the United States government.
There was a conspiracy.
Conspiracy.
Conspiracy by the CIA.
The conspiracy of a few.
Dark, secretive, conspiratorial, evil.
Then it was certainly a deliberate conspiracy.
High-level conspiracy.
The do's and the don'ts and the rights and the wrongs of the various conspiracy theories that are good.
Possibility of a conspiracy.
In a moral sense, I think it was a conspiracy.
One conspiracy, that's all I'm talking about.
Full of speculation, conspiracy theories, and the like.
And what's going on here? You began to wonder what was really happening in America. I mean, was there a vast conspiracy afoot? You know, there could have been a conspiracy.
Do you think you're obsessed with conspiracy?
Conspiracy theory.
A conspiracy.
I'm afraid you'll catch me. I'm afraid you'll catch me.
A conspiracy would do the job nicely.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Baseless Conspiracies. Hope you all had a great weekend and are having just a happy Labor Day. Zach, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, John. How about yourself?
You know, I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty darn good. Very excited about tonight's episode. We're going to be joined by a special guest.
That's right. Very special.
Talking about the Delphi murders, which...
Yes.
Another one I haven't heard about, so very excited to dig into this one.
That's right. Abby and Libby.
Yeah, before we get to the sponsors and bring our guest on, did you see Trump is doing another announcement tomorrow?
Tomorrow at 2 p.m. from the Oval Office. I did see that, yeah.
Well, what do you think it's going to be?
Honestly, it could be anything, something related to trade. It could be, I heard that there was something having to do with India buying Russian oil. Maybe it's going to be an announcement related to somebody getting charged. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure people are thinking that with all of the talk about his health over the weekend, maybe he's going to say something with that. Let me tell you this, man. I saw people sharing these pictures of President Trump from the golf course over the weekend. And despite the fact that he showed up, played a whole round of golf, kicked ass like usual, people were like, Trump is not well. Look at this photograph. And people were sharing this like clearly AI enhanced picture of President Trump. And when the AI enhanced the face, it like made it look like he had some growth coming off of his forehead. And people were like, what is this? What is this on President Trump's forehead? And I'm like, are you kidding? Like, look at his features. Look how soft he looks. It doesn't even really look like his face because it like molded and sculpted it. It's just so clear to me. People are just they're anxious for something to be wrong with him because they have this deep inbred hatred of him. They're thinking that he is wrong in some way, and so they got to get rid of him. They can do something else, but he's clearly the greatest thing that's ever happened to this country.
Well, I saw two sides of it. First of all, the death and resurrection of Trump was something to behold this weekend. In 3 days he shall rise again. And that's exactly what it is. He went 3 days, he was missing, and the world is freaking out. You had the leftists who were losing their mind for sure, like hoping to be true. But then there's a weird subset of like the mega community, the conspiracy community, who are like, this is kind of what we've been warning you about, the scare event. I'm like, come on, you guys, like get a grip. It was ridiculous. But yeah, he's back out there. I think the announcement is going to be, I wouldn't say a nothing burger, but in terms of like what we want it to be, like,
I doubt it.
Putin or, some deep state arrests or anything crazy. It's going to be a nothing burger compared to that. It's going to be like, we're implementing more tariffs on India or something.
Another trade deal. Hey, if it's the executive order on ID and getting rid of voting machines and paper ballots, I'll be pleased as punch. Okay. But up until this point, every Oval Office event has been essentially good news, but relatively benign when compared against what people would hope it might be.
Yeah. Maggie Bundy in the chat makes a great point. Has anybody seen JD Vance this weekend?
Oh my God.
He's probably dead.
What happened to JD?
We just haven't seen him. We haven't
He's
seen him
lost in Calcutta.
So he's obviously, if you just don't see somebody, that means they're dead.
Yeah. I like the death and the resurrection of Trump, though. That's a really great way to put it.
Yeah. We talked about that on Saturday's show. We had a good time with that. Anyway, let's get to our sponsors real quick, and then we can bring on our guests. We don't want to keep him backstage for too long. I've never met him before, so I don't know how he gets if we just like keep him waiting.
He's a bit of a prima donna. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, I kind of got that vibe, so just kidding. Okay, let's talk a little bit about my fireside because it's Labor Day. I have one of these fire pits, and they are doing a Labor Day sale right now. And these things are awesome. You'll never need another fire pit again. Fire up your backyard with My Fireside's epic Labor Day sale. Score an American-made fire pit forged from 100% heavy-gauge stainless steel, tough as nails, and built to last forever. Make it your own with customizable, interchangeable plates that scream you. Forget those lame closed box competitors. My Fireside pits blast 360 degrees at cozy, radiant heat, warming up everyone in the crew. Proudly veteran-owned and operated, they even throw in a free pocket Declaration of Independence and Constitution with every order, because nothing says America like freedom. Plus, every purchase fuels the Semper Fi America's Fund, supporting our nation's heroes. So don't sleep on this deal. It's going through Labor Day. My Fireside Big Guy bundles are ablazing 25% off. Grab this red-hot deal before it's gone. Light up your nights and spark the vibe of freedom at badlandsmedia.tv/fire. That's badlandsmedia.tv/fire. This is actually one of those products where I bought it first, and I was like, this thing is so awesome. We got to start sponsoring it. And I stand by it. Love the fire pit. Use it as often as I can. I encourage you guys to get one. As I said, you'll never need another one again.
Never.
And we have one more sponsor tonight until we get to soft disclosure later, and that is Mega Offers.
What?
The Mega Offers. You know how sometimes you see something and think, okay, I need those in my life, like yesterday? That's what most people say when they see my shoes at the Garts, because I have those Trump Never Surrender shoes. Well, they have these gold ones now, and they are freaking awesome. When the gold ones first came out, I missed the boat on it, and it's my kids' fault. The fact that I had kids and I had to tend to them, I ended up missing out on ordering these things. They were in my cart. Didn't make it in time. My buddy got signed ones. I don't think you got a pair.
No, I was in the exact same position as you, only it was my work that pulled me away. And when I went to go buy them, same thing, they were gone. And our partner was bragging in the chat that he had got them. And we were both like, oh man, so bummed out about it. And then it got even worse when he received his pair and they were signed by President Trump. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I was happy for him, but still, I felt major FOMO.
Yeah, I mean, I was just super jealous. I was low-key hated him for a day or two. Couldn't believe it. I was like, that could have been me. And now it is me, though, because we have this sponsor, and they actually sent me. I have a pair now. They didn't come signed, so that must have been a mistake. I'm sure they'll send me a different pair that's signed or something. But I have the gold sneakers, guys. These are going to be mixed in with my Gart shoes, Gart apparel. It's the only time I'll ever wear them is at Gart's. Can't wait. They are fantastic. These aren't just shoes. They're a full-on statement. Bold, fearless, and unapologetically patriotic. Just look at them. The gold finish, the red, white, and blue accents. It's like wearing a piece of American pride right on your feet. The quality is fantastic. They don't just look good. They feel good. They're comfortable, durable, surprisingly that weight. They aren't just for sitting in the back of your stream and collecting dust like mine do. But I can only wear. I'm afraid to wear them because I don't want to get them dirty or anything. I want to wear them at the conferences, and that's what I'm going to do. But I encourage you guys to get these and wear them with me at these conferences. Go to themegaoffers.com/Badlands. Again, that's the mega MAGA offers.com/Badlands. Use that link to grab a pair now and take up to 15% off your order. But don't wait too long. These things, they go pretty fast. They come in spurts. Own a piece of the movement and step into something legendary.
You won't regret it.
You won't, unless your friend gets signed one and you don't. Then you might regret not doing it. Awesome. Okay, man, you want to set us up for the guest?
All right. So tonight we're going to be talking about the Delphi murders. Now, this was a case from the late 2010s. It actually happened in 2017. Couple of young girls, 13-year-old Abby Williams and 14-year-old Libby German. They were walking on this old train trestle called the Monon High Bridge in Delphi, Indiana, and they went missing. And shortly after they were reported missing, they were found deceased at the bridge. And the police were, well, it was down this embankment. They were murdered. They were definitely murdered. Their bodies were at like the base of the bridge in this like kind of gully, this ravine. And the police were very cagey about the circumstances surrounding their death. And for years, it appeared that they had no leads or anything like that. Like the only thing, but what they did have was a Snapchat video that one of the girls had captured like moments before their alleged killer had come across them. There was also an audio clip of a man saying, "Girls, down the hill." Okay. And so they kept playing this like 3-second clip of this video called The Bridge Guy, because it was basically him walking on the bridge. They're walking. One of them had their phone out and they thought to get a Snapchat video just because maybe he made them nervous. And then she got this audio clip as he was telling them to go down the hill. And I think that they had said, "We believe that he had a gun. He forced them down the hill. And then once they were down the hill, essentially he murdered them." Now
they have a video of the guy.
Yeah. So actually the full Bridge Guy video was eventually released after the trial. Well, I guess during the trial it came out. So I do have a 3-minute news clip, and we can watch that. And a man was arrested in 2022. His name was Richard Allen. And in between Richard Allen's arrest and the murders themselves, a couple of other suspects had come up. It turns out that there were a number of pedophiles in the area who had been communicating with either one or both of the girls, and they had been pretending to be a young man. Like they took this guy who's a male model, and they used his photo, and they were on Snapchat having conversations, like kind of grooming these kids. And, these guys were, like arrested and questioned. And I believe at least one of them did end up going to prison for possession of child pornography, because clearly wasn't a child and he was up to no good. But this very short clip was going around for a while. And when Richard Allen was arrested in 2022, it was just a shock to the community, because he lived relatively close to the bridge. He would frequent there. He would go for walks there. And he had actually been questioned just a couple of days after the girls' bodies had been found. He actually went into the police and said, "Hey, I was on the bridge that day, and I think I may have seen some girls," but he didn't explicitly know whether it was those two girls. And he said he saw 3 girls. Now, the older sister of one of the girls had allegedly dropped them off at the bridge, but there's some strange things having to do with her as well. And we'll wait till our guest gets in here to start getting into any of that.
Yeah, maybe we should bring him on.
Yeah, let's go ahead and bring him in, and then we can watch this 3-minute clip, which will show us the Bridge Guy video, and it'll introduce us to Richard Allen as well.
So do you want to introduce our guest and why is he the the guy to have on for this show?
Well, this is my friend Josh. He's also known as
Hey,
Low Light Recovery Online. You might have seen him in chats on my show, but he's been investigating the Delphi case for some time. And there's a lot of twists and turns. And I think that you're going to find that this case has some elements of, not only pedophilia, strange cult behavior in this area, corrupt police and prosecutors. And it's my assertion, and I believe Josh will also agree with me here, that Richard Allen was framed for this murder. Now, whether that was simply because they needed a body, they wanted to blame somebody because it was kind of a stain on the department. It had been, 5 years, and they had finally came up with a suspect. But the arrest of Richard Allen was shocking to a lot of people, and most shocking to his family. His wife actually doesn't believe that he's guilty, and Richard Allen's legal team also doesn't believe that he's guilty. Yes.
Well,
so, go ahead.
Josh, what got you into investigating this murder?
Well, it was 2017. It was February 13th when the girls went missing. I was watching the news, typically just watch national security stuff, and this story about two girls going missing a few miles from me came up on my news feed, but it didn't strike me as strange, but it really is, because you have 400,000 to 600,000 kids disappear in this country, and you never hear about them. But I heard about these two. It sparked my interest. The next day, they were found dead, and it was just a slow rollout of, suspects and, local pedophiles, that sort of thing. And they never caught somebody. So, it's normally not a story that I'm not really a true crime person, but this one's stuck.
So it was close. It was close to you. You said 2 miles from your house.
Oh, it was a few miles. I'm just a couple hours from where this happened.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm intrigued. I'm curious to hear your angle to it. I heard a little bit of what you were saying before the show, and my interest has piqued. So, Zach, do you think we should maybe play that video and then
we'll go ahead
and let them roll with it?
Lindy is not a fan of the Odinist theory, but we'll get into that, and that's fine. I for the record, Lindy, I don't believe all conspiracy theories, but I think that there's enough here to ask questions, and we'll go ahead.
Lindy's always starting stuff in the chat.
I don't know why. Hang on just a second. There we go. Okay.
News in the Delphi murders case. New cell phone video of Bridge Guy is released online. It's the first time we're seeing the video that shows Abby Williams and Libby German's final moments alive. Thank you for joining us. I'm Chelsea Helms. As you know, Abby and Libby were found dead near the Monon High Bridge in Delphi back in February 2017. This is Richard Allen, the guy who prosecutors argued was Bridge Guy. A jury found him guilty in their deaths late last year. He is currently serving a 130-year sentence. Just yesterday, Allen's attorneys filed a new appeal in his conviction. Here's CBS 4's Scarlett O'Hara, who breaks down that new video for us tonight.
In a 43-second cell phone video taken from Libby German's phone, you see both Abby Williams and Libby walking on the Monon High Bridge in Delphi in February 2017. We're about to play that video in its entirety, a first for anyone who was not in the courtroom for the trial of suspected killer Richard Allen. A warning, this may be difficult for some to watch.
See, this is the path that we go down. There's no path going there, so we have to go down here.
we've seen clips of this video before.
So did you hear that? It was kind of quiet. He
So
said,
like down the hill.
Yeah, guys down the hill. And that very short segment from where he was in the background behind one of the little girls, they had enhanced that and enlarged it, and they would show that over and over and over again. And that was the only video that they had, with any sort of a clue as to who this person was. They knew that he was a man, roughly, kind of heavier build. They roughly could tell his height as a result. And then they had that voice right there. Yeah. So
Josh, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, not a whole lot. If this was all there was, I wouldn't be here. Other than the fact that they got the wrong guy. Bridge guy from the video, you can clearly see he's over 5'10". And the law enforcement had the software to determine his height from the beginning, but for whatever reason, they removed the height from the description on the sketch, and then they arrested a guy who was like 5'5" on a good day.
So I think I have a picture here that I can pull up. Let me open this.
Are you going to pull up the sketch of the bridge guy?
No, I was just going to pull up a picture from the internet of the bridge guy. This isn't a very good image, but here. Share screen. Here we go. This is like a zoomed in.
Yep. Yeah. So it looks like maybe he's wearing a hat. Maybe he's got some tousled, thick hair. If that is his hair, it's a little darker, maybe a little bit salt and pepper. But this could be anybody, quite literally. I mean, like, it's not enough to identify somebody. And it's certainly, he's correct. It's notable that they initially estimated, his height at a certain height, and then they sort of just made the evidence fit Richard Allen once they found him. Now, in terms of physical evidence, the only physical evidence they had was a spent 40 caliber. I believe it was a 40 caliber bullet that hadn't actually fired, like it had been cycled through the a pistol. Richard Allen owned a 40 caliber pistol. And now here's the thing. In order for ballistics to be done on a shell casing, like, there has to be like a full cycling, and that's usually done, as it's traveling through the gun at velocity. So, there's pressure and friction that's on a bullet. But if a bullet is just like cycled out manually, or maybe it fails and then you have to cycle it out manually, I wouldn't think that it would have the same forces applied to it that would allow you to match it forensically. And I don't know about you, Josh, but I never saw any ballistics specifically from the prosecution that compared a bullet from Richard Allen's gun to the bullet that they found at the scene. And the girls were not shot. So even if this was from Richard Allen's gun and he had brought that gun there and, had been shooting into the hill or something like that, there were no other bullets that were found that had actually been expended from the pistol. And who's to say if or when it was ever dropped there by Richard Allen, if it even was Richard Allen?
Sure. There's just a lot of things wrong with it. There are courts around the country, states around the country that are calling this junk science, and it's no longer allowed to be used in court proceedings. So what they're doing is they're comparing apples to oranges. Mm-hmm. You've got a round that has just been cycled, like it has not been cycled, rather. It's simply been ejected. Now, the extractor is a machined part. This is not like firing a round down a barrel and comparing those marks between two rounds that have been fired down a barrel to determine if it's the same gun.
Yeah.
From a machined part that is extracting, which, by the way, when they did an extraction, it didn't match. They had to fire the round to get it to supposedly match. So they were comparing apples to oranges, but what happens in cases is it just becomes dueling experts. Your expert says this, their expert says that. Who's more convincing to the jury? Ultimately, the way things played out, meaning the way the prosecutor and the judge worked together to keep certain information out of the jury's
consideration,
jury from seeing it. Thank you for that. The jury didn't have anybody else to convict. But so this is a kind of a good point for me, because I don't want to get lost here. There's a lot with that video that I want to get to, but I want to frame this because I believe that this is the reason this was never solved and it went on for so many years, is because it's connected to one of the biggest national security disasters that we've seen, that people just kind of don't know about, and that is the Charlottesville Unite the Right riot.
Wow.
So
deep cut.
Were you
before we get into that, can I just ask one question? And this may be dumb, but were the girls shot to death, or were they?
No.
What's the significance of the bullet if they weren't even shot?
Because it was the only thing that linked Richard Allen, other than the fact that he said he was on the bridge that day. And keep in mind, he was not the only person who was on that bridge that day. This was a popular walking path that many people in town would be on. In fact, others were on the bridge that day. And Richard Allen, if he hadn't gone in to self-report and say, hey, I was there and I think I remember seeing 3 young girls, but, I didn't speak with them and, I didn't get close enough to actually interact with them, then they would have never been able to place Richard Allen there. Because I would hazard a guess that Richard Allen is not the only person in town that owns a .40 caliber.
Anything to add to that, Josh?
Yes. Zach, there's a picture that I sent you. It's called Bridge Reference, if you want to get that ready. But the Richard Allen's gun was a Sig Sauer P226. And he's not the only the property owner where the girls were found. He also had a Sig 226, and his weapon could not be excluded. Nor could his voice be excluded. And his frame, the guy was maybe 6'1", I'm not sure. Some people in chat might know better than I will. He actually has a gait that looks just like the person walking across the bridge. And he also was photographed in the exact same clothing.
Yeah.
On the day that he asked for an alibi from his cousin.
Josh, actually, the download failed.
Oh, okay.
I don't have any of them. If you can pull it up
your screen.
So what I'll do is, I'm not exactly sure how to do that.
Okay,
here,
so down here at the bottom.
Okay, I see that there.
Okay.
So basically, with the trail, where the girls are walking, there's nowhere to go. That's the end of the trail, and it ends into private property. So what the state alleges is that these 2 girls went on a walk that day. They were abducted. The person abducted them, walked them across the creek, and killed them on someone's property. They did this in a very short period of time, like 40 minutes to an hour and a half, something like that. Now, the crime scene was decorated with runes, with one girl was naked, one girl was wearing the other girl's clothes. There were runes painted on trees and blood. There were pools of blood on the ground. There were sticks forming runes that were laid on the girls. One girl had antlers.
Jeez.
Yeah. So Richard Allen had no connection to Odinism, had no connection. There was no electronics on his, no electronic, nothing like pedophilia or anything like that found on his electronics. Sorry, I can't talk tonight.
Okay.
So there was nothing about him that would have connected to him to this crime. Like, he didn't have a history of that. So they're walking across this bridge onto private property. And if you listen to the video, and we could listen to it again if you want, it sounds like and this is what I allege, is that they know where they're going. They're going there to meet someone, and that someone had just walked across the bridge with them. or he actually came up the south side of the bridge, looped back around, and walked them down the hill like he tells them to walk down the hill. They get to the other side of that bridge and they say there's nowhere to go. They're like, looking, where are we going to go? There's nowhere to go down. There's nowhere to go down. But I allege that there's a person or a car down there in the drive. So there's a driveway that runs underneath the bridge. And let's see here. So what I should do is I should open up that picture and then hit share screen, and it'll
yeah, have it open on your browser and then click share screen.
Oh, I gotta have
at the bottom.
Okay, very good.
You have like a window or share tab.
That's what I'll do then. So what we're gonna see here is an overhead view of the crime scene area. There we go. Open with Vivaldi. There we go.
Looks like Red Pill 78 Wife's in a feisty mood tonight. She's battling the trolls in the chat.
There will be. This brings them out. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, so image file.
Don't forget, guys, to hit that thumbs up. The one thing that you said that stuck out to me was the antler thing. Have you ever seen True Detective season 1?
Yes, same animal. That's exactly what we're talking about here.
Interesting.
So, within a few hours. Okay, so I got it here. There we go. Okay.
Okay, so now it's there, added.
Okay, there we go. All right, so at the very top of the screen, you see the line there? You see the path.
Yep.
That's not even the beginning of the trail. The trail keeps going, and that's where they came from. So the video that we saw is all the way down here at the bottom of the screen. I don't know if you can see my cursor or not.
Well, no, we can't see your cursor.
The BG video?
Yeah, the BG video there. That's the bridge guy video. Now, you can see where their bodies were found. The state alleges that they walked down the hill, across the creek, and up into that area where they were murdered. So what we know from watching the video is that we know from the still image that was shown, and I'll have to pull that up here in just a second. So there was a still image taken of Abby, the smaller girl with the red hair. It was taken all the way back here at the beginning of the bridge. But the bridge goes on quite a ways, and bridge guy is nowhere in that photograph.
Is that this photograph? Let me just take yours down and put this up real quick to show you.
Yep. That is that photograph. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So you can see how far back that is, and bridge guy doesn't exist in that picture.
Okay.
So what has probably happened, and there was another video leaked recently, which I do have tonight.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh, yeah. So what we think happened is bridge guy came up here on the south side of the bridge, walked back down the bridge, and then turned around and came behind the girls.
Okay.
So he came from the same direction the girls were walking instead of coming up behind them.
So you're saying where it says BG video on this image, that's the direction he came from, and then he turned around and came back?
Correct.
Okay.
Another video has been released that came out at 2:07. We see a car entering this driveway.
Under the bridge?
Yes, under the bridge.
Okay.
At 2:07, and then leaving, I think it's just under a minute later. But the driveway is about 10 feet wide. I mean, the guy would have to do a 3-point turn, but it looks like that might be the killer or whoever the girls were meeting that day was being dropped off.
Yes. And again, they were in communication with at least one account that was being controlled by multiple pedophiles. And there was plans for them to meet up, or there was attempts to groom them. So, not inconceivable to think that they were there. Are you going to talk about the sister at all? because the sister it's Liberty's sister, or is it Abby's sister?
It's Liberty's sister.
Liberty's sister, Chelsea. Yes. There's some strange stuff with her too, because it would appear that her story had changed multiple times. There was maybe some exchange of clothing. There was also Liberty's phone was in her sister's possession for a period of time, and she might have been posting as her.
Sure. What we don't know is, well, so there are other phones. There are survivor phones that have been taken. And it's my belief that there were several girls being catfished that day, and that the phones were being watched by someone. And here, let me get a picture. You might have seen.
Here's the other thing. If you guys don't use Snapchat, like on Snapchat, if you're friends with somebody on Snapchat, it'll tell you exactly where they are. Like, it'll give you their location.
If you share your location, yeah, it does do that. Josh, do you have these open in like on the internet form, or are they all files?
Okay, so they're all files. I've got them. I've got them here. I'm very sorry.
Oh no, I was just curious, just because it's easier than having to upload each file each time. But we'll do it that way. I'm curious to see that video, too, of the car.
Okay, well, let's. Why don't we pull up that beautiful bean footage here? Let's get that real fast. Sorry.
I said that one time, like, because it's just something that I would say.
Yeah.
And then I didn't think about it. And it was a video of people running across the southern border. And people were like, was that racial? And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, here we go, guys. Here we go. So let's do a video file and let's pull up.
How long did it take while you're looking for that?
Yeah.
For them to get from like no suspect to landing on this Richard Allen guy? Like, how many years went by? 5 years went by before they charged him?
Yeah. So there's some real weird stuff. Now, here is the video, and it's going to be very difficult here, but at 2:07.
So where's the bridge in this video?
It's not. So on the far right of the screen is where the car will disappear, but it enters on the left, and then it reappears on the right and then drives back, and it's very small. I don't know if we can actually see it here. Let's see. So this was leaked. It was part of a motion to correct error after Richard Allen had been convicted.
There it is on the left.
Yeah, they're way back there.
It's leaving right there.
You see it on the left side there.
So here we go. It's gonna here we go. We got a better view now. This was leaked to a lady named Amy. There it goes. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
At exactly 2:07, right before the girls are abducted, and the state didn't let the jury see this.
So where is this in relation to the bridge? You said it's right under it?
Sure. No. The bridge, let me go back to the bridge reference here. There we go. So it'll be down at the bottom.
Yep. By BG video to the right of it?
The far left. To the far left. It'll be off the screen. So the car is coming in from the far left of the screen on the bottom, and then it drives up underneath the bridge.
Okay.
Or it gets there before, drops someone off, and then they walk down the driveway to meet the girls.
Interesting, because you said 2:07. That's when that first picture of in the red was taken, same time frame.
Right.
Interesting.
Now, I don't know if the girls were actually setting up like an alibi for their parents because they were meeting someone and going off with them. You know, I don't know if you've got any daughters. They might leave home with an extra pair of clothes that they want to wear, that they're right.
Yeah.
So I think that they might have been setting something up. That's my theory. Now, I don't want to get too far away from the national security angle here because see this, a lot of this stuff, like was just part of the state's narrative. You may be familiar with the Governor Whitmer kidnapping case.
Yes.
Where, okay, so you've got a group of guys that are a lot less like them and a lot more militant in the region, named the Vinlander Social Club. I don't know if you are familiar with a person named Brian James.
No.
So Brian James is currently the he's the head of the Proud Boys autonomous group in Indianapolis.
Okay.
Long time ago, he founded this group called the Vinlanders Social Club, and they came out of the Hammerskins. During the time, they came out of the Hammerskin Nations. And these guys, I'm telling you what, here, I'll pull up a picture of them. These guys would be an enforcer in just about any room in the country. So they are ADL, SPLC, like poster boys. These are the kind of, actually, I think this is going to be an SPLC picture that I got here. There we go. Yeah, ADL. So right here in the very center, that's Brian James. And these are his friends. This might be 2017. And that whole year, they were getting together and they were marching and they were going to MAGA events and whatnot. And, you know, a lot of these guys just saw themselves as a bunch of, I don't know, like sheepdogs, right? So they're going to go mix it up on the ground with Antifa, and, you know, everybody's going to be happy because everybody gets to mix it up on the ground. And they did that all summer. And they did that all the way up until the Unite the Right rally.
Mm-hmm.
So it's these guys that I suggest were the patsies for the murder. Somebody said something earlier, just as we were starting, that they did not agree with the Odinist angle, and I actually agree with that. I think that the Odinist angle, I think these guys were framed. I don't think that these guys were going to go to a murder and dress up the murder like their religion. I don't think that so a lot of these guys are modern war fighters that were blamed as well, like Patrick Westphal. We can get into him. Another guy named Brad Holder. These guys had been over in Afghanistan. They had used electronic measures and countermeasures. They're racists, but they're pretty smart guys. So what we know is that these girls went missing, and when they go missing, it is all hands on the deck. About 40 FBI agents are there on scene. When the press conference came out a couple days later, the FBI agent lied. Well, he lied by omission and only talked about one of the FBI agents there. Why? I allege it's the Dropbox. When the girls went missing, Keegan Kline, the pedophile that Zak was talking about, he and his father, their home was instantly under surveillance. They were there. The Evansdale police were informed, and the FBI was there. We now know that the FBI, the DHS, the ATF, and the another federal agency have all been working on this case. None of them are talking. So I don't know if I'm going to skip around a little bit here. One more thing. So are you familiar with Larry Nassar? Are you familiar?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. From MSU. Yeah.
If you're ever wondering what Jay Abbott was doing with all that money and time and resources, I allege it's this. So I allege that they were working that crowd because they had a militia forming. So the Vinlander Social Club was going from being a skinhead group to being a militia. And they were all there around that region around the time of the murder.
In Indiana.
Yes. So they were all also at, so they're all at the Unite the Right rally. And and days later, all their interviews, all of that goes missing from ISP. So there's this, I don't know, it's like it was a big scandal. They had all these guys interviewed, they had all this evidence collected, and then on the 20th here, we can pull up my
what is the date, like the timeline between the Charlottesville rally and the murders? Like, is that at all connected?
Oh yes, yeah, that's
Okay.
how I made the connection. So let me pull
Okay.
that up for you right now.
So what you can do is, after you've got something shared in your browser, you can, if you've got to open up a picture or a different web page, you can go to the page that's already shared, or if it's a new web page, then there's a button in each tab that says share this tab instead, and then it'll pop up in where you were sharing it before.
I think he's got all just files down here.
Here we go. Now I've got the screen here. So boom, there we go.
Also, now that now that Josh has explicitly said that he thinks the Odinism angle is a setup, I just want to say, Lindy, I never said that I believe the Odinism angle. We're just talking here.
Yeah.
So, anyways, pipe down.
Pipe down, Missy. All right. So, can you guys see? Everyone see my Twitter page now?
Yes, we can. Yep.
Okay, great.
What's your handle, by the way?
Noble lie. Noble _ lie _. So I'm scrolling down. I used to have this at the very top. So the only timeline you need, where are we? I would appreciate anybody following me on Twitter. That'd be great. Here we go. Now we're getting close. So here's what else we know. We know that Director Wray and Comey were both briefed on this multiple times. I've been doing this for a long time. Here we go. Okay. So the kidnapping and murder happens on February 13th, 2017. The Unite the Right rally happens in August 11th and 12th of 2017. On 8/20, they lose all those interviews. And on 9/27, Director Wray announces that they have over 1,000 open domestic terrorist investigations as a response to a question. And then there's the Clovis, New Mexico fire. We can go into that. So as you can see, there is a correlation with the time there.
I just don't understand, like, so far where we're at, how the Unite the Right stuff and the Proud Boys even connect to the murder. Like, that's what I'm missing so far.
So, well, let's assume that the Unite the Right rally itself was a psyop designed to bring together and essentially capture and incriminate a whole host of people within the sort of burgeoning new right at that time. The people that were there were those that were then sort of branded as the far right and the racists, the very fine people, right? Not all of the people at the Unite the Right rally were racist. Not all the people were, white supremacists. I mean, it was a whole host of people, but the organizers of the Unite the Right rally were people who had scurrilous backgrounds to begin with. And I believed at the time that it was simply a setup. They were just trying to get people there so that they could have something terrible happen. And eventually they did. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. And so, if the murders themselves were somehow designed as a way to link these people to some larger criminal conspiracy, I think that's kind of what Josh is suggesting here.
I'd like to hear Josh explain it. I mean, because the murder was 6 months before, right?
Yeah. So the murder is 6 months before, but okay. So one of the first, these are all the things that we never were told, right? So we've already learned, like, the girls go out and hike, they get kidnapped, they get killed. That was the story we were told. What we were not told was that the crime scene was dressed up like Odinists. We were not told that within days of the murder, the same week on the 16th, that Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall, 2 members of the Vinlanders, are interviewed by the FBI, Special Agent Pohl. Those interviews were entered under seal at the trial, so I'm alleging that state secret privilege and national security letters are being abused in the prosecution of Richard Allen. Like, there's just things you're just never going to know.
Well, what's the Vinlanders? Is that like the Odinist stuff?
Vinlanders Social Club is the picture that we showed.
Okay,
the guys who were marching. All those guys who were at that rally, they were
in the area, interviewed by the FBI.
They were interviewed by the FBI. So I think Brad Holder's a confidential informant. He acts like a confidential informant. What we also are not told is within days of the murder, he's posting pictures that look like the murder scene on his social media. So before and after, there's this guy named Elvis Fields. He and Elvis Fields are sharing pictures of runes in the woods and all of this other stuff. And Brad Holder just starts posting pictures of girls, looking like they're dead and laying there with sticks laying on them and all kinds of stuff. He's basically screaming, "Arrest me," but he never gets arrested. And this group of cops that are connected to the feds start investigating these guys, and no arrest ever happened. So it looks like the feds you've got the landowner, Ron, oh man, I'm just having a hard time right now. So you've got the landowner. He's got hundreds of guns. The FBI raids his house, finds goat heads laying around the property, hanging from roofs, all this other stuff. He's got no alibi. He's got a felony, and he's an alcoholic on record. And he's got hundreds of guns. And he gets no weapons under disability charge, none of it, right?
Is he connected to the Proud Boys too?
Well, that's unknown. Like, he is connected to Chrisman. Well, the people that you don't know. He's connected to some people who are connected to them. Yes.
Okay, so Ron Logan is his name. Now, Ron Logan is also interesting, other than the data points that Josh pointed out, because when he was in custody of police, another inmate that he was sharing a cell with went to the police and said, "This man just confessed to me that he is responsible for the murder of those girls." And he also took a polygraph test, and he failed that test. Polygraphs are not admissible, of course, but police use them all the time. Now, didn't Ron Logan die shortly after that?
Ron died of COVID.
Ah, that's right. Yes, he died of COVID.
A dastardly thing. I guess I'm still just like, I'm interested. I'm intrigued here by this theory, and it's, I mean, by no means would it surprise me to hear that the law enforcement got the wrong guy, looked elsewhere and fabricated a crime or whatever to find the wrong guy. But what would their motive be to interview these people and just like, okay, well, they're clear. We're gonna instead focus elsewhere, and then eventually pin it on somebody else. Like, why would they not investigate these people further?
Well, they didn't tell anyone that they had lost the interviews. They lost the interviews on 8/20.
So okay, you're saying after Charlottesville,
you're correct. So they
lost
investigating these people.
Okay, so hold on. So the murders happened in February.
Yep.
Between then and the Charlottesville rally, they had interviewed a bunch of people, and then after Charlottesville is when they say they lost the interviews for these crimes, like the ones they did for the murders.
Correct.
Interesting. Okay.
Now, I would just like to also introduce a concept here, something that we've talked about before, John, which is the FBI infiltration program of the political right called PatCon.
Yeah.
This was used during, all of those events that we talked about, like Ruby Ridge, the Aryan nations up there dealing with that. The Waco, and what was the other one? The the Oklahoma City bombing, Timothy McVeigh. So the FBI for years has had, this is very similar to their program to insert themselves into other political movements, COINTELPRO. So PatCon was exclusive to right-leaning political movements to insert operatives and confidential human sources into all of these different groups with the express intention of being a part of it, watching them to see if they were going to engage in overt terroristic or militia-like behavior, but also so that they could use these groups and these people if it became necessary. Timothy McVeigh is a perfect example. Okay, he was an insert into all of those various events that took place, and of course, he ended up taking the blame for the Oklahoma City bombing. And I think that it's highly likely that many of the sort of many names that we've seen, such as the one that I mentioned, who was the organizer of the Unite the Right rally. There were FBI confidential human sources and sort of, people who were on the books being paid by them that were contracted and brought in to organize these political movements, which would then be used as a catch-all to gather information, intel, names, addresses, and then they could use that as a pretext to watch people and sort of keep tabs on all of these things. I'm sure you remember that even during President Trump's first term, there was all of this talk about white extremist terror behavior that they were concerned about. I think Christopher Wray said, like, the greatest danger to the United States is right-wing violence and stuff like that. Joe Biden said the same thing. And I mean, that wasn't a mistake. They had been cultivating that as a real threat in the United States for a long time. And probably went and started talking to many of these people because they already had a prior existing relationship with them in one form or another. And if they would be able to gather information to perhaps help with the figuring out who murdered these girls, or seeing if they could use national security letters to get in and listen to people's conversations or read their text messages, et cetera, they would do that. I also think it's notable that the pedophiles were directly involved in this in one form or another. And we know that pedophilia has been used as a form of blackmail and control with the deep state on so many different levels. So just a couple of points there.
Yeah. So there's a lot that we don't know, or we did not know when the girls went missing, when the girls were murdered. One of those things is there was a guy who was interviewed by police named Elvis Fields. And he told a guy named Kevin Murphy, he said, if my DNA is found on those girls' body, if I can explain it away, will I be in trouble?
What?
And yeah, so he described to his sister, who took a polygraph test from a DHS polygrapher. He described, an ISP polygrapher. He described the crime scene. He described dressing the girl up with antlers, putting sticks on the bodies, and spitting on the bodies. So he's my first patsy in this whole thing, Elvis Fields, because if you're bringing somebody in to spit on the body and decorate the crime scene, you're a patsy.
Well,
and he is
wouldn't the patsy be Richard Allen, who's in jail? Isn't that like the patsy that the person actually takes the fall for it?
No, not initially. So that's the beauty of this thing, is that the people who were being framed. I think this was a cartel hit, personally. I think this was a cartel hit, and it was a hostile takeover. Because, so here's the other thing that you don't know, and that nobody else knew, is one of the girls' fathers, Liberty German. He was caught stealing anhydrous years before. Bulk anhydrous. So
explain to John why that's relevant.
Okay, so why is that relevant? No one ever asked, did the girls' proximity to organized crime have anything to do with their murders? Because these girls were steeped in organized crime. Like it was like images of loving family and cops, pursuing the truth were all we saw. What we didn't know was that this family had a history. Becky Patty, she had lost family to murder. The son, he was involved in drug dealing and that sort of thing. The Vinlander Social Club was connected to these people. I've got 15, 16 bodies directly connected to Becky Patty since the murders. Well, excuse me, right before the murder and then since the murder. So this.
What do you mean directly connected? Like,
I mean, okay, so let's go back to my Twitter real fast.
And I'm sorry, did you say that you use anhydrous ammonia to make crystal meth? Did you say that out loud?
I didn't say that.
Okay,
You make it to make bulk anhydrous. I mean, bulk crystal meth. So this is something that would. So this would potentially get in the way of somebody's, money flow.
Yes, and that would certainly be connected to motorcycle gangs. The cartel has all sorts of relationships with a bunch of little ancillary gangs. There was a lot of talk about meth production and organized criminal activity that came up during the Moscow situation not that long ago. Kind of similar in that the victim's family was directly connected to that. But I'd also like to suggest that the DEA and the feds have a long history of allowing criminals to engage in criminal activity if it means that they can monitor and watch the networks to see exactly where these things are flowing. Not only because maybe they're getting a cut, but also because, it's just the intel that comes along with it.
So this is Mike and Becky Patty. And this is the names that I have directly connected. So this is Becky Patty. She assesses properties for value. And I don't know if you're familiar with Sheriff Sean Taylor, but he comes into this thing. So I got Kiara, Kiriel, and Kiona Welch. They died in a home shortly after. They died in a house fire in a home that was recently assessed by Becky Patty. Close in time to that, her granddaughter and her best friend die in the murders. Then one of the girls who was involved in the search for the two girls when they went missing, and who called 911 and reported hearing horror screams around the bridge at the time of the murders, died from a gunshot wound to the face. Nate Miller, a longtime police officer involved in the investigation, died by suicide in his car. Greg Ferenczi was part of the investigation into these 4 girls' deaths and Liberty German and Abigail Williams' death. He died when the FBI building that he was in was attacked by Shane Meehan. Stephanie Thompson was the polygrapher who took the polygraphs in the Floor 4 deaths, those 4 girls here. And she also did the polygraph examination of Elvis Field's sister. She died with her daughter in a house fire. Josh Ward, Elena McFarland, Christopher James, and Tia Neighbors died in Clovis, New Mexico. Josh Ward was the member of a gang whose leader's family rented from Becky Patty. Now that's about half. That's about half of the bodies that I have connected to this crime.
That's a lot of death in a lot of circumstances. I mean, I have some friends who died in a fire, and that's the only people close to me that died in a fire, and that was when I was 19, 20 years old. House fires happen, but this is a small town, and to be connected that many deaths to a single point of data like that is pretty strange.
Yeah, I went to an actuary, and I went to several. So I first consulted Grok, and I said, I've got these 5 fires, and I have 16 deaths, all connected to this one event. What are the chances? And it gave me like 21 in 28 with 61 zeros behind it. So I was like, that sounds pretty pretty bad. So basically, you could win the Powerball lottery jackpot 8 times in a row before it was more unlikely. So I went to some actual actuaries, and they said the probability is 0. They said these things are all connected. It's not even that. But the thing is it's more than 16 bodies. It's closer to like 30.
I'm just having a tough time following, if I'm being totally honest, because like,
yeah, I'm normally not up this late, and I'm being a terrible storyteller.
No, I think we just need to figure out a way to like tie this all together. I think so. We have this, and I think part of the reason is, okay, I could buy this being like some sort of gang hit, you know, maybe if the motive could be revenge or something along those lines. I don't understand why the cops would not pursue an investigative lead. Like, what's your explanation for that? Are they in on it?
Well, okay, so you have 2 things. One, you have the feds, the FBI. So the person who was running this investigation was Jay Abbott.
Okay, that sounds familiar.
Okay, so Jay Abbott is the guy who made materially false statements about the Larry Nassar investigation to the Office of Office of Inspector General. So he's the one who's having dinner night after night with the head of ISP, Doug Carter. So basically, Doug Carter's getting handled by Jay Abbott. So you've got in that region, you've got this Dropbox with pictures of girls from the region that's probably being used for blackmail. Is this like the first time that CSAM is not being used for blackmail? Mm-hmm. You've got this in the region, and then you also have this Vinlander group, which is being worked by the FBI and Sources and Methods. So the FBI comes in, they're running this show publicly. The Indiana State Police are running it, but really the FBI and DHS are running this show, and they're in full-on cover-up mode at this point, right? You've got exposure with the Dropbox, you've got exposure with the Vinlander crew who have been blackmailed or have been framed for the murder. So I think you only need one person to go in there and destroy that evidence.
But why would they do it? Like, what's the motive for the police to like let this go and then frame somebody else? Why would they not pursue the investigative lead?
Well, okay, so I don't believe I think that eventually what happens, I think they did, that's the point, they did pursue the investigative lead. All that investigation was lost. They had tons of investigative juice on these guys.
And do you think it was lost on purpose because of what happened at Charlottesville?
Yes. So eventually in this story, we get to what's called the Franks Memorandum, which is years away, but it's after Richard Allen's arrest. The defense comes in contact with a police officer who was involved in all these investigations named Todd Click. This is after the death of Ferenczi, who was murdered. But he presents the defense with all this investigation into the Vinlanders because he believes it was the Vinlanders. And it's not allowed to enter trial. The judge keeps it out.
The judge kept it out.
Yeah.
What was his reasoning for doing that?
It was Judge Fran Gull, and she did it because she said that there was no nexus with the crime scene. But, I mean, there's plenty of nexus. Plenty of evidence.
What the heck? So,
including geofence data.
But they didn't allow that into the trial either, I'm assuming.
No, they did not allow any third-party suspect information into the trial at all. What's also missing is probably Abby's phone. So they've said Abby's phone doesn't exist, but we have pictures with Abby having a phone. I had sent it, but I guess the download didn't work. Yeah, and I'm really sorry. So here we go. I can pull up another image file here. So do you have any other questions while I'm pulling this up?
Yeah, I do. Zach, do you?
Well, I think that we should. I think that we should talk about Richard Allen here, because one of the reasons that people just believe that Richard Allen is the killer is because after he was arrested and interrogated for I don't know how long. I mean, it was a long time. He was put under a lot of pressure. The cops allege that Richard Allen confessed to the murder. And there is a jailhouse phone call of Richard Allen kind of broken speaking to his wife, and he says, I killed Libby and Abby. And she's like, no, you didn't. Why would you say that? And he was like, I did it, and I just want it to be over, basically. And after he received a defense team, they attempted to present these alternative theories in court. And just as Josh said, essentially everything was shut down. The only thing that they would allow him to do was attempt to defend himself against the claims that, the police were making and his own confession in jail. Josh, do you have a theory as to why Richard Allen would confess to a crime if he didn't commit it?
Sure. He was tortured into confession. He was held for 6 months. So he denied any involvement in the murders, up to 6 months of solitary confinement, and he is being medicated with Haldol. At that time, he told his wife on the phone that he was going to start telling them what they wanted to hear. And a few days later, within a few days, he started confessing to the murders. Now, he confessed to shooting them in the back. He confessed to molesting his sister and killing his sister. He confessed to burying the girls in the shallow grave. None of those things happened.
I have a video here, I think, of parts of his interrogation.
So let me actually, before you even get to that, there's a large piece of this interrogation that has never made it out to the public, and it was not shown in court, so it was kept from the jury as well. The reason for Richard Allen's arrest was because he worked in the same factory as a man named Tony Klein, which was Keegan Klein's father, the guy who was catfishing the girls, the pedophile. He worked in the same factory as that guy. So they had a long series of questions about Richard Allen, his religious beliefs, and his work history. And when they found out he worked in the same place as Tony Klein, they arrested him. So I allege that at some point when all these investigations were wrapped up, the investigations into the Dropbox, the investigations into the pedophiles, and the FBI or someone within the FBI had got all their loose ends tied up, they put Richard Allen's file on the police officer's desk and said, figure it out. And the important thing about Richard Allen was that any investigation into him would have not led back to the crime. And he's the only person, he is the only person that could be investigated that would not actually lead back to these girls. He had no connection to them at all.
Interesting. Okay.
Go ahead. You got any other questions?
Well, this picture here, you said, is this the one about the phone?
Yes. So on the left of the screen, you've got her left hand. On the right hand of the screen, you got her right hand. I allege that she has a phone in her right hand.
In the right pocket there.
In her pocket, and she is clutching it. And if you look at the hands, when she gets off the bridge and she walks around Libby, Abby pulls her left hand out, and you don't see any weight in that left pocket. But she keeps her phone in that right pocket. Yeah.
It makes sense
Josh,
she has a phone.
Yeah.
Josh, the girls were strangled, correct?
The girls' throats were cut.
They were cut. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
They died from blood loss.
Okay.
There's a lot that goes into that, but whoever killed these girls, that's what blew my mind about Richard Allen, was that when I looked at him, I just don't see a guy that that is going to kill a little girl. And I think that Richard Allen could kill someone, but I really think that here I'm trying to pull up a picture. But Richard Allen, this is Richard Allen before. For whatever reason, it's not coming out. There we go. This is Richard Allen before the murders. This is just a normal family dude, normal guy like you and me. And this is what they reduced him to. There we go.
Wow.
Yeah. This is after months of torture.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And I see Lindy in the chat. Torture is a subjective term. For a lot of people, being placed in solitary confinement with the lights on all the time and being badgered and told over and over again that you committed a murder while you're being pumped full of Haldol, people start to believe things, and they're willing to say whatever they need. I mean, there is a rich history of false confessions out there after police put enough pressure on people.
Well, the UN considers 15 days of solitary confinement torture.
Notable.
And it was 13 months before he got convicted of solitary confinement. Now, if you've seen Brian Kohberger, you see him walking into court, in his suit and tie, and he's well fed, and he's been hanging out in county jail. This man went straight into maximum security prison, and he was treated like a murderer. There was no presumption of innocence, none of that. A lot of people feel like the judge was biased. Her behavior doesn't make sense. The only way her behavior makes sense to me is a national security letter or state secret privilege being invoked. Because
that's interesting too. Don't they have to at least disclose to the court the state secrets are being invoked? Wouldn't that be in the transcripts?
There is a DHS ex parte motion that no longer exists in the court record. But yes, the DHS did petition the court. Ex parte means basically it's, it happens on camera, but it's private with the judge.
Interesting. Okay. I want to play this interview piece, or this, I think it's part of his interrogation. I can pull up. Here we go. Let's play this quick.
Allen's own words as he made supposed confessions while in jail. Allen's initial trial for the Delphi murders is over, so the exhibits used in court have started to become public record and be released. I spoke to a YouTuber who got his hands on confession phone calls and 2022 interrogations of Allen. It's important to note what we have in this story is just some of the exhibits presented in a multi-week trial.
I did it.
You did
No,
what?
I did it.
What?
I killed Abby. I killed Abby and Libby.
That's the voice of Richard Allen talking to his wife Kathy Allen on April 3rd, 2023, confessing to killing Abby Williams and Libby German near the Monon High Bridge in February 2017. Allen's wife refuses to believe what her husband is saying, including in this May 10th phone call.
I think you are not well. So you don't need to be saying you did something you didn't do.
It's important to note, doctors testified in court Allen was experiencing psychosis during at least some of these calls. These phone calls were released to YouTuber Tom Webster, who has followed the murder of Abby and Libby for more than 4 years.
Well, I saw Judge Gull issued a ruling saying that you had to send a $25 money order to the Allen County clerk, so I did. And I asked for these 4 items that I had seen in the courtroom, but I wanted to get a better look.
Webster received multiple phone calls where Allen confessed to his wife and to his mother.
So did Kathy tell you that I did it?
Webster also got 2 videos of Richard Allen being interrogated in October 2022, shortly before he was arrested. On October 13th, Allen is asked if he is Bridge Guy.
The question needs to be, is that you? If it was taken with the girl's phone, that is absolutely, it's not me.
These exhibits are just a few of the dozens used during Richard Allen's trial. Attorney John Tompkins, who is not affiliated with the case, expects more exhibits to soon be in the public domain and has a warning for our viewers.
You're only seeing a small portion of the evidence that was presented at trial. You're not getting the full picture.
Tompkins says people should know their sources. Once these videos and calls are out in the public, they can be altered to fit certain narratives.
Be very cautious about what source you're getting and whether what you're seeing is as authentic and accurate as the judge made it for the jury to see.
Tompkins doesn't expect these exhibits released in the public to impact Allen's appeals process, but says if the case eventually does go back to trial, it could make finding a jury even harder. CBS 4 has made our own records request for the exhibit.
It was interesting the way the lawyer or whatever framed that. He's like, it does not match what the judge made the jury to see or whatever, like as if the judge was kind of like dictating the end results. Not that a judge would ever do that, right? Crazy.
Well, that's exactly what happened. You know, there was so the way trials work and the rules of trial is if the defense was going to enter Richard Allen's own words, like, so part of his interrogation or his words on the phone, things that would exonerate him, they would have to put him on stand, I believe. And so they had to rely on the words for Richard Allen that the prosecution had brought in. So any like where Richard Allen is saying to his wife, "I'm going to start confessing," the jury never heard that. All the jury was able to hear was Richard Allen confessing. You know, they did see video of him being mistreated, but I've never seen any of those videos.
It kind of reminds me of the Netflix documentary "Making a Murderer."
Making a Murderer, Karen Reed case,
Brendan Dassey or whatever, who like, I mean, based on the documentary, it's like this kid clearly was innocent. They got him to commit, or like they got him to admit to committing the crime, even though he didn't do it.
Yeah,
and I mean, he was a very low intelligence person. Like, I don't know the intelligence level of Richard Allen, but putting somebody in solitary, giving him a bunch of drugs if he doesn't actually need the drugs. I know there's somebody in here defending him profusely, or that he was guilty, but
that's fine. So when the judge said no cameras, that's the big difference between this and Karen Reed. This would have been 6 times the size of Karen Reed.
Yeah,
but people were able to see the injustice happen. People were never going to see this injustice happen, and I don't know what it is. And I asked Andy Baldwin, you know, what was it? You know, how did you know she was going to say no? Because he walked in asking for cameras, and he kept them on the back foot. He did a great. The lawyers did a great job, but there was some reason he knew. He said he just had a feeling that they weren't going to allow cameras, and I think that there was, for some reason, he knew. I haven't gotten him to answer the question as to whether or not he received a national security letter, which I know that he cannot confirm or deny. But I wanted to ask him anyways. So
this is wild. So at the beginning of the show, you said that this is like a huge national security thing.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of the final piece of this that we should like wrap into a little bow here if we can.
Sure. First of all, I've been a terrible spokesperson for Richard Allen. Hopefully you guys can get somebody on here that can be.
No. I think you've been good. There's just so much to this. You know, we probably shouldn't have squeezed into one episode. We could maybe even stretch this out into another one.
This could be 6. But so yes, the national security element here is that the FBI and the ATF were working sources and methods on a militia group in this region. That group was framed for a murder they did not commit. And
which murder was that?
The murder of Libby and Abby.
Oh, okay. I'm tracking now.
Okay. So any investigation into that murder would have led back to the FBI's
their sources and methods investigation,
right? That were ultimately responsible for Charlottesville.
That's interesting. Are you able to elaborate on that if we did another episode?
Oh yeah. I mean, dude, that's all my content is. That's my entire Twitter feed. Like I have documents, I have news, you know, I have all that. So like if it's just me talking about this stuff, like it's much easier. And here I am making excuses. I just feel really bad because, you know, Richard Allen is a victim, and I want, you know, Kash Patel and Pam Bondi wrote a big check, you know, like there was the old way that the FBI behaved and it wasn't going to act like this anymore. And, you know, there's a lot of dead bodies in Indiana and there's a big cover up going on. So I've reached out to the FBI. I've reached out to DHS, ATF. They say, go talk to Indiana State Police. Indiana State Police is not giving interviews, is what they say. But they're going to CrimeCon.
How about this? And Zach, let me know if you're cool with this. Well, let's have him back again next week, and you can, present a defense of Richard Allen. Maybe put together a little something for half it, and then I do want to go a lot deeper into the national security aspect, the FBI, because I think that is very relevant to current events and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm good with it, and maybe you can have the specific timeline and the reference materials for that set up, and then we can just have it rolled out.
Okay, so I guess we'll talk about that format and email, and then and I'll have that ready for you.
Okay, cool.
Okay, well, let's
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Of course. Well, I'm just so curious. I'm interested in like everything you've explained. I wouldn't put it past the FBI at all to do any of this type of stuff. And plus, like, I love true crime stuff. Deep down, I don't watch enough of it, but whenever we get on the show, I love it. So I'm curious. I want to see what you got. Let's do a quick soft disclosure spot, and then we'll get to the rants and whatnot, and then we'll get out of here. Zach, you good or anything you want to?
No, I'm good, and I've got the rants ready if you don't have them.
Okay, well, let me do the soft disclosure spot quick first. Guys, if you haven't yet, got to try out our soft disclosure. Get ready to ignite a revolution with soft disclosure. This isn't just a product drop. It's a full-on movement that's about to shake things up. This is personal care that doesn't mess around. No compromises, just pure, unapologetic quality. First up, the lotion, supercharged with aloe, goat milk, and our exclusive Badlands oil blend. This isn't your average drugstore goop. It's a barrier-restoring powerhouse. Choose unscented when you want clean and simple, or vanilla citrus when you want to smell like you actually give a damn. Then the deodorant, natural, aluminum-free, and straight-up badass, built to last 2 months of daily use with scents like crisp mint, which I've been using, or bold lemon grapefruit. No gimmicks, just protection that actually delivers. Finally, the tallow bar. No, it's not a deodorant. It's a vanilla coffee tallow stick, which is primal fuel for skin that's been through hell. Rub it where you need serious moisture, elbows, hands, knees, basically anywhere you're tired of feeling like sandpaper or just want baby soft skin. Every bottle, stick, and bar is handcrafted in Colorado by Badlanders who live and breathe truth. Partnering with Willow Wind Farms and Badlands Media, we're putting our money where our morals are with soft disclosure. Make truth your routine. Head to softdisclosure.com. Use code Badlands for $5 off and join the fight today. Absolutely loving this product, guys. The unscented lotion and the mint deodorant are my go-tos.
I love the lemon grapefruit. Lisa has been wearing that. Yeah. Lemon grapefruit. I mean, that's perfect. I love citrus.
Would you say it saved your marriage? Probably.
No.
Well,
I would say that the lotion has saved Lisa's skin.
Okay. Well, that's such a perfect plug there, and you just totally dropped the ball.
I mean, my marriage would have to be on the rocks for soft disclosure to have saved it.
Would Lisa agree with that, though? Lisa, would you say that soft disclosure saved your marriage?
She says she just put on the lotion.
I would say that does.
Okay. All right. Soft disclosure saved my marriage.
There we go. Clip it. Clip it. That's a great testimonial. Thank you, Zach. Thank you for that. All right, let's go through the rants. Do you got them, Zach? I forgot.
I do. Yes. Yeah. I'll go ahead and pull them up. Okay. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to Micro Toolmaker for dropping, I believe, what were 10 subscriptions over here for our viewers on Badlands, in addition to a $55 rant where he says, where we go when we go all, and nothing can stop what is coming. Let me go ahead and make this bigger. There we go. All right. And Harry Vetch is trying to get in touch with us. First of all, he says, how do I contact Badlands to provide information? Hold your thought, John. And Samantha says, I was living in Kokomo, 30 miles south of Delphi when this happened. I feel like I started this by posting our Indiana meetup on OnlyLands. And then actually you may have, we just talked about it on Friday, and that's why I reached out to Josh. And then Harry Vetch also says everyone will break with enough pressure. I mean, this is such an important concept. I understand how people have their mind made up. You know, they decide that Richard Allen is guilty, or, you know, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what the case is. A lot of people see what is presented from the perspective of prosecutors, and there's a reason why prosecutors are so often successful in what they do, because the state has the position of power. And although it is ostensibly the duty of the state to prove the guilt of the accused, oftentimes it is structured in such a way that it's more like the accused has got to prove their innocence because they're not allowed to present everything that would be exculpatory. I don't believe that Richard Allen was allowed to present alternative suspects or circumstances. Josh, I don't think that the jury heard that Richard Allen wasn't familiar with the circumstances of the crime scene, only that eventually, he ended up claiming that he was guilty after, being diagnosed with psychosis. Of course, if anybody here's ever taken Haldol, not that I have, but from what I understand, it's a fairly heavy antipsychotic, and it's going to make people behave in pretty strange ways. You might end up finding yourself saying something that you never actually did. And there's also a lot to be said for the pressure that is put on you by interrogators. Their goal is to get a confession regardless of whatever the truth is. Harry Vetch also says, John, Ashland wants to talk to me for a potential interview. I was the U.S. Army liaison to the Russian Army in Serbia, Kosovo in 1999. I have all the docs to prove it. How do I contact? That's pretty cool. So how would you like Harry to get in touch?
So the best way to do it is go to badlandsmedia.tv/contact. There's a little form here. Type in your name, your email, and what you want to talk to us about. And somebody will get back with you. Typically I will. So just make sure you put a note on there that who you are and what you're reaching out about. And then real quick, we do have a boost on the website too.
Okay.
From 1027JS, $20 says boost. Thank you, Joe, fellow North Dakotan. And also, guys, just wanted to point this out real quick. Go to our website, badlandsmedia.tv/events. The Great American Restoration Tour tickets for Cocoa Beach are now currently on sale and open to the public. So if you planned on attending this one, I do anticipate a pretty good sized crowd, and we do have limited capacity at this one. So I'd get on that if you plan on coming. And then also we have all sorts of meetups down here at the bottom, but the website's filling up. This Sunday, we're doing a meetup in Minneapolis. I'll be there. CanCon will be there. And I think Josh Reed is going to be there too, make an appearance. That's at noon at Quinny's Pub. Yeah, just come check it out. Why is that picture formed? Oh, there you go. So September 7th. Make sure you RSVP to Quinny's Sports Pub at gmail.com this Sunday. Yeah, I think that's all we got, man.
Awesome.
Well, Josh, I appreciate your time tonight, and looking forward to next week to digging a little deeper into some of this stuff.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.
Likewise.
Absolutely. This is Zach, man. When are we seeing you next?
I'll be live on my channel tomorrow at 5 p.m. and then here Wednesday at 9 p.m. for Altered State with Brad.
Awesome. And I'll be back on tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern on the Daily Herald. So, and Josh, where again can people find you? At Noble_lie?
Correct. Underscore lie. It's underscore after lie as well. So Noble_lie_.
Okay, perfect. Awesome.
Yep.
Thanks again, man. We'll see you next week. Zach, have a good night. We'll see you all later. Hit that thumbs up, everybody.
Peace.